And as always, your views and comments are welcome on this show. Look for us on our social media handles at Joy News on Facebook and on Twitter. You can send us a tweet with the hashtag The Pulse. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. And we were promised a legal spectacle today, and in fact today we got more than what we actually expected. It's been a very busy day for lawyers of the PPP's presidential hopeful Dr. Ayikoi Otoo and the Electoral Commission as they argue out over Dr. Indom's disqualification. Scores of PPP sympathizers who had come to lend their support were loud in their voices, hoping to hear something creditable today.
To support Ayikoi Otoo because we are tired of NDC and PP and we want to change this time around. Yeah, we are hoping that we will win the case. Our leader will stand and then we vote so that we'll be happy.
For Batrawes, we are waiting for our leader to win this case and we are hoping for the best. So we want prospective government, not incompetent government. We want to rule this country very well. We want competent government. That's why we are supporting Dr. Ayikoi Otoo.
Well, that was a euphoria outside the courthouse, but we know that the business itself took place inside the courtroom. In fact, the flag bearer of the party, Dr. Indom himself, was in court today to listen to the arguments from his lawyer, Ayikoi Otoo, and the EC lawyer, Thaddeus Sorry. This is Joseph Akable was there for us and joins me in a studio with more on this. Joseph, we're learning one word describes what happens today. H-E-A-T, heat. What was it like?
It's cut across the entire proceedings. I mean, right from the onset, it was clear that lawyers on both sides disagreed on every issue that is before the court. Right from the very request that they are asking of the court, lawyer Otoo wants the court to quash the EC's decision to disqualify Dr. Indom, or as it were, reject his nomination form. Then again, they also want the court to order the EC to give Dr. Indom an opportunity to correct the mistake they identified in his nomination form, for which reason they decided to reject the form. Okay. But on all those grounds, the EC lawyer simply disagrees. Okay,
now let's look at the nitty-gritties and where the drama unfolded today in court. First, there was the issue of how the PPP actually filed this particular application at the High Court. What was the EC's position and what was the defense of the PPP lawyer, Joseph Ayikoi Otoo?
The point the EC lawyer is making, that's Thaddeus Sorry, he argues that the PPP should have come to court via an election petition and not through an application for a judicial review, asking that the court quashes the decision of the EC. So that was his very first objection. He then makes the point that if you have failed to come by a petition, then it again means that your submission to the court is premature. So on that basis, the court has to reject the suit entirely. But the lawyer for Dr. Indom, Ayikoi Otoo, disagreed completely. He makes the point again that a petition arises when there has been an election. And as it stands, Dr. Indom is only a candidate who was nominated and his form has been rejected. So why then are you making a point about he coming by a petition?
Okay, and what was that subplot about Mr. Ayikoi Otoo talking about Mr. Thaddeus Sorry not taking the matter a bit serious and that they are in for serious business? What was that about?
It had to do with the same objection that was being raised. So when those two objections, in fact, what happened was that Ayikoi Otoo was the very first person to speak. So when he had talked for about 3 minutes, the judge then interjected that these were the objections, that it's about the procedure, whether they should have come by a petition or come by a judicial review. He said these were the objections that Thaddeus Sorry had already raised. I want you to respond to it. Then after Ayikoi Otoo had made that response, then he mentioned again that he's surprised that Thaddeus Sorry is making such objections because they are here for serious business. They are here to talk about whether they give Dr. Indom an opportunity to correct the mistakes. And for such objections, he's surprised he's raising them. So he doesn't expect that from him at all.
Okay, that's on one leg. Now to the main issue of the disqualification and in the view of the PPP and his lawyer, the need for the EC to have given them the chance to correct the anomaly. What was the legal basis for that submission they made?
They are talking about CI 94 and Regulation 7, and it talks about the fact that when a candidate presents his nomination form, that candidate stands nominated until the commission identifies a mistake in the form. Now, the law again further says that if you identify the mistake, communicate to the candidate. If the candidate fails to rectify the mistake within the nomination period, that is when the commission can decide to rejected the nomination form of the candidate. So that was the legal argument put forward by lawyer Ayikoi Otoo for Dr. Indum. He says, during the nomination period, you didn't even give us an opportunity. He even says that the EC didn't even spell out the nomination period. He only mentioned that we are receiving the form on the 29th and 30th of September, and he didn't give a period as being maybe 8th of September to the 30th of September, and that was not spelled out by the Electoral Commission.
But what was the EC's response to this? Because I know that they did announce the date for submission of the forms being the 29th and the 30th of September.
He said, in actual fact, lawyer Ayikoi Otoo read a release from the EC directing parties to present the form on the 29th and 30th. But in his response, lawyer argued that, they should ignore that release. And in actual sense, the law that the EC, for which reason the PPP was in court, it's very clear that during the entire period, you can present your form. So even when we said you should pick it on 8th, you should know that you can bring it within that period, and once it ends on 30th, that is the last day. He again makes the point again that a bit about Dr. Indum not being given an opportunity to correct the anomaly. He argues that the form was not presented early. So if you are from 8th all the way to 30th and you choose to present on the 30th, you make it very difficult for the commission to identify the mistake and notify you. So by failure to present it in time, they have waived that right that they would have enjoyed if they had presented it in time.
Okay, for those who may be watching, let's get the understanding clear. The date for the submission of the forms was clearly spelled out.
Yes.
29th and 30th. So what was it about submitting it early enough so the EC can detect whether or not they had issues?
The whole point, Francis, has to do with the CI. The CI says within the nomination period, if you identify a mistake, we should inform you and bring it so that you correct it. But then again, the EC lawyer is arguing that that is what the law says. But even though we announced in a release that present your form on 29th and 30th, we expected that as law-abiding citizens, you will be aware that indeed the law provides that you can present it within that period. So even though we made a release and said you should bring it on the 29th and 30th, we're expecting that you will be aware that you can bring it earlier, and as a result of that, you should have brought it within that period. By bringing it on the 30th, in fact, the PPP's flag bearer presented his form at 9:47 a.m. on that Friday, which was the 30th of September. So the commission is saying you brought it in late, making it very difficult for us to notify you of the mistake for you to have corrected them.
Okay. Now, did it end there with the arguments? Because I know there was another issue to do with who is senior at the bar, sit down, get up. What was that drama about?
That drama was at the very tail end of the whole proceedings. That was after Ayikoi Otoo had finished. Lawyer Sori also spoke. Then Ayikoi Otoo came in to respond because you have brought the matter, so you are giving the final bite of the cherry. Now, while he was speaking, Lawyer Sori stood up and wanted to say something. Then the judge asked that Lawyer Sori resumes his seat because Ayikoi Otoo was still up. Then Ayikoi Otoo repeated what the lawyer said. He said, "My friend, sit down." Lawyer Sori didn't take that lightly, and he mentioned that you can't be talking just because you're a junior, just talking to me anyhow and asking me to sit down. But then Lawyer Otoo insisted again, "My friend, sit down." Then at that point, the judge had to order Lawyer Sori to resume his seat, even though he was a bit hesitant. He subsequently sat down for Lawyer Otoo to proceed.
But there was an issue of, Tadio Sori, you are my junior, and there was a response. What was that about?
That was still on that leg of that issue. And the point that Lawyer Sori was making was that you don't just talk to people that way because they are your juniors. Then Ayikoi Otoo's response is, you should just sit down. So in essence, he's saying that you are my junior and I'm asking you to sit down.
Interesting. And did it end there? Because we know also that with the proceedings today, beyond the technicalities and what the PPP were asking for, Dr. Indum himself made it to court today. What was his demeanor as he sat and watched the two legal brains have a go at each other?
Dr. Indum came into the courtroom at about 9 a.m. That was just 5 minutes before Justice Eric Chebafo walked into the court. He was very calm initially, but when his lawyer started arguing, when his lawyer was on his feet, you could see Dr. Indum once in a while smile. In fact, when the proceedings ended, the look on his face was as though the court had already ruled in his favor. He looked very happy and clearly impressed by the job that the lawyer he had mandated to represent him was doing in court.
Okay, so proceedings done today. We know the ruling will be on Friday, yes? But you spoke to Ayikoi Otoo, who's the lawyer for the PPP. What did he have to say about today's proceedings and how it went for him?
He was very impressed. He reiterated some of the arguments they made in court, and he further mentioned that he had already started getting some congratulatory messages to the effect of the arguments he put in court. But he mentioned again that if the ruling doesn't go in their favor on Friday, they'll be heading to the Supreme Court.
We can hear from the senior at the bar.
The right of the court to How confident are you of a victory come Friday?
I'm a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I've made my submissions. Most people have understood the submissions. You saw the many congratulatory messages that came, the handshakes, and I wish they were even put, and I believe some of them would have wished to put powder. So that is sufficient to tell you that everybody has understood this position, and I do not expect the judge to go any other way. Didn't you realize that all the questions were going to him? What questions did he ask me? All the questions were going to him. Where is the nomination period? If you know that you have an opportunity to tell the people to go and make corrections, why didn't you fix a date to receive the forms earlier than the date you chose, being the last 2 days, 29th and 30th, according to you? And in law, it's nothing more than the nomination day, because the day I bring it, I stand nominated. Until I withdraw, I die, or I'm disqualified. I'm already nominated. It is only that day. What happens to the 7 days when you have to consider whether or not to accept what the returning officer has done or not? What happened to those days? Are they not part of the law? Did she act in a rational manner? Was she fair? These are the issues. She was just unfair. She acted in an irrational manner. She breached all the laws, which also amounts to illegality of the law. The errors are all there, apparent on the face of CI 94. Yes.
After Friday, if it doesn't go in your favor, what next?
We go to the Supreme Court. That's Joseph Ayikoi Otoo. He's lawyer for the PPP in this case. We know that the ruling will be given on Friday. We'll patiently wait for that day. But Joseph, was there anything else that we haven't spoken about that happened inside the courtroom worthy of note?
It had to do with a bit of theatrics on the part of the lawyers, especially lawyer for Dr. Indum and Ayikoi Otoo. Once in a while, he tends to be playing a bit to the gallery. So, for instance, there was a point where the judge says, "Oh, I have some questions to ask." He said, "You can ask as many as you want. I'll answer all of them for you." Then again, there was a bit where Thaddeus Ory had raised an objection, and he said, "Is that the objection? Relax, let me reply to it." And that kind of thing. Once in a while, it gets to the court, those in the courtroom laughing. But the courtroom was full. Outside the court, in actual sense, quite a number of people were standing there, apart from those who were outside in terms of the court compound waiting for Dr. Indum to exit.
So what do we expect on Friday?
You expect lots of supporters of the party definitely to be at the court premises. We also expect the security to be present. We will expect high level of security to be present at the courtroom. But the ruling, we can only wait.
And see what happens. Thank you, Joseph Akable. He loves the legal issues. He's our court reporter. Clearly, spending some time to understand every single bit of detail when it comes to this issue. And you can't expect that on Friday when the ruling is given, we will demystify the legal jargons for you here on the program. Well, Ghanaians who feel heavily burdened by the increases in taxes under the Mahama administration can now look to the future with a lot of hope. This is because government is promising to stop increasing taxes for at least the next 4 years. Government in 2015 introduced new taxes on petroleum products coupled with increases in utility tariffs, thus incurring the wrath of many Ghanaians. Speaking on the Super Morning Show on the heels of a recent announcement by the NPP to cut taxes, Communications Minister Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah said government is rather considering other ways of raising revenue.
What that means is that through the efficiency measures that we are introducing, for instance, Ghana Revenue Authority, as we speak now, we have considerably automated their systems, and we continue to improve on that. We are also linking the Registrar General's Department to the Ghana Revenue Authority just to ensure that we are able to have a symmetrical information in terms of tax administration and the companies that exist, what they seek to do and all. So just by these efficiency measures alone, even if you are not to even talk about what they say, proverbial widening the tax net by physically going to identify new tax payers electronically, you are reaching a wider scope. You realize that in this manifesto, we haven't spoken about increasing any tax, not at all.
So for 4 years, you have no intention of increasing any tax?
Not at all. We don't.
Wow.
We don't.
Can you really make such a promise to voters?
We believe
4
so.
years in advance?
We believe so.
So let's see what happens. And with 42 days to go, everything is possible. The promises will be coming in thick and fast. But you have a choice to make on December 7th. Who to vote for based on what issues and what decisions. The choice is definitely yours. After the break, we'll hop onto the campaign trail where Nana Akufo-Addo and President John Mahama have been busy in each other's strongholds trying to chip away some votes ahead of the elections. Details after the break. Stay with us.